Hello and welcome to this video. This will just be a short video to talk about some of the things I've learned as I've been doing a restoration on this 1995 S320. It's a W140 chassis. And before I get started, I do want to thank Mercedes-Benz of Gilbert for all of their help in getting me parts, especially overnight a lot of times, and at a big discount. So I'm pretty much almost done with my restoration, but I want to take a minute out to talk about a few things that I've learned along the way that weren't true years ago when I restored some other Mercedes. In the past, I had a 107 type body style and I had a 123 type body style. And back then, I used to have to go to the dealer and use catalogs and look through all sorts of parts microfiches and things like that to find the right parts. But now you can use the Mercedes-Benz Online Electronic Parts Catalog, the EPC. So I'm going to open the hood, show you a couple of things I replaced, and then I'll explain to you where I found the numbers. Back in the 1990s, these Mercedes had some biodegradable wiring. It was a big mistake on the part of the company. And fortunately, most of the wiring on this car was replaced by the dealership with the non-biodegradable wiring. But some of the connectors, like this one right here, were still made out of some material that just fell apart in your hands. This particular connector here I replaced, and I'm going to tell you about that in a minute. But the plastic on it was so brittle, it just crumbled like powder in my fingers. And so that was definitely something waiting to happen that would not be good. So the wires themselves are marked. And then what I did is I took a silver marker to mark the top wire so I'd know which way its relative position was in the plug, so I wouldn't get anything with polarities mixed up. And then I simply replaced this plastic connector. Super easy, and I'll explain that in a few minutes. But some of the other things I've done, and you'll see this marked with a silver marker, is I replaced as many of the vacuum fittings as I could find. I ordered a huge bag of vacuum fittings from the dealership. And same thing with these plastic connectors. I ordered a huge bag of them in a couple of different styles. And that is so that I could just come in here and start replacing things. So under the hood, I've replaced almost every vacuum connector I could find. And same thing with these electrical connectors. As I find them and they're brittle, I just go ahead and replace them. So everything's pretty much restored back to original condition under the hood. Next thing I'm going to show you is the interior. The interior of this car was almost perfect, except for the leather was completely worn here where the bolsters are. Along the sides, the bolster itself, on the top or the back and the bottom, and the same thing where the person had slid in. And so what I did is I re-dyed all of this and then recoated it, and I'll show you that product here in just a second. Here's some examples of some of the vacuum connectors I found in the electronic parts catalog and I ordered from my local dealer. So here's a 90 degree, and it's got a long end on it. You can actually cut this down if you need to and make just a small 90, and then this longer piece you can use to connect a small vacuum line to a nipple, or this would be small vacuum line to a nipple here. And then this is more of a large to a large. You'll find these in some cars. And then I'm going to swap cards here and I'll show you another set. Okay, here's an example of a straight that goes from a small vacuum line to a medium nipple, and also a 90 degree that goes small to small. This would be like a vacuum line to even a vacuum line or a small nipple. Most of these things are vacuum lines to vacuum lines, so you can get a 90 degree connection. Here's a couple of more common, I'm going to call them 45 degrees or more like 60 degrees. But here's a small to small that you would use for a vacuum line to a nipple typically. And then another one that goes medium size to a large size, so you might need those as well. Here's an example of original Mercedes fuel line. Now this is made by Contatec in Germany, so you can either buy it from an outside vendor labeled as Contatec brand, or you can buy it from Mercedes, and here's the part number. And I'm going to recommend you only use Mercedes or Contatec genuine fuel line. Don't use any other substitutes, because this is a metric fuel line and it's extra thick and it's really made for the car and it won't leak. Right here is the genuine Mercedes fuel line clamps. You can pick these up at the dealership. They're pretty inexpensive. With a discount, they're like a little over $2 each. And I bought a whole handful of them. And also there's plastic nuts used on these bodies. Like on the W140, they're all over the place. They hold little panels in place. So I just bought a handful of plastic nuts so that if I need them, I can go ahead and have them in my stock. And so I'll show you next the electrical connectors. These electrical connectors are found fairly commonly on all Mercedes. And these are the 2-conductor straight and 2-conductor right angle. So on the straight one, this folds down and clips into place after you put the wires in. And on the right angle one, this folds up and clips into place. Sorry, it folds backwards so that the wires are captured. And all you want to do is make sure that you have the right polarity when you put the wires in so that you don't get them mixed up. But if you get that done correctly, they just slide right in there, snap closed, and when you snap them closed, it locks the wires into place. These break all the time on this little part here, or in the case of the one I just replaced, this whole entire connector had completely disintegrated into dust. It just, in my hands, went into dust. So I got that replaced, and that's done. And all Mercedes connectors are listed in the electronic parts catalog. You can find them in there if you look far enough, like look at the wiring harness, and it'll show you where the different connectors go, and it'll show you pictures of the connectors so you can order the actual plastic piece like these if you need them. My leather color is Orion Gray, so I ordered this die kit from Seats Restore, and it actually matches perfectly, and it went on quite easily. I followed the instructions on how you do it. It comes with everything you need in the kit. So I was able to re-dye parts of the seats exactly to the original color. Very happy with that. And I also wanted to mention on the body color, mine's Polar White, number 149. You can order those paint kits from the dealer itself. They have little touch-up kits you can buy. So if you have a little ding or a little rock chip, you can clean it up and make it look back to normal. I have not done that on my car yet because that's the last thing I'm going to do when I finish the restoration. That's all there is to this video. Thank you for watching.